Brian Whitaker had always felt like an outsider in his own home, a puzzle piece jammed into the wrong box. Growing up in the sleepy suburbs of Maplewood, New Jersey, where white picket fences hid more secrets than they revealed, he navigated life under the iron rule of his adoptive parents, Eleanor and Harold Whitaker. They were the epitome of strictness: church every Sunday, curfew at 9 sharp, no TV on school nights, and absolutely no questions about the past. Discipline builds character, Harold would bark, his voice like gravel under boots, while Eleanor nodded in silent agreement, her eyes sharp as hawk's talons. But Brian's rebellion simmered beneath the surface, fueled by a fire he couldn't name until high school. It started with stolen glances in the locker room, a flutter in his chest when Jake Thompson, the star quarterback, smiled his way. Jake was everything Brian wasn't. Confident, athletic, with sun-kissed skin and a laugh that could light up the dullest pep rally. One rainy afternoon after practice, as thunder rumbled outside the gym, Jake cornered him by the vending machines. "Hey, Whitaker, you coming to the party Friday?" Jake's hand brushed Brian's arm, sending sparks through his veins. Brian froze, his mind racing. Parties were forbidden in the Whitaker household, but the pull was magnetic. Yeah, maybe," he stammered, his cheeks flushing. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, Brian admitted it to himself. He was gay. The word felt like a liberation and a curse all at once. How could he tell his parents, who quoted Bible verses like ammunition against anything unnatural? The party was a whirlwind of cheap beer and pulsing music in some kid's basement. Brian arrived late, heart hammering, spotting Jake across the room laughing with friends. Their eyes met, and Jake waved him over. "Glad you made it, man." They talked for hours, about football dreams and family pressures, until the crowd thinned and they found themselves alone on the back porch. Rain pattered on the roof as Jake leaned in, his breath warm against Brian's ear. "I've been wanting to do this," he whispered, and their lips met in a kiss that tasted like freedom. From that night on, Brian's world split in two. By day, he was the dutiful son, acing his classes at Maplewood High, helping Eleanor with dinner, enduring Harold's lectures on responsibility. By night, he snuck out to meet Jake in hidden spots: the old park bench by the river, the abandoned lot behind the mall, where they explored each other with tentative hands and whispered promises. "I love you," Jake said one evening as stars twinkled above, his fingers intertwined with Brian's. The words wrapped around Brian's heart like a warm blanket, but doubt crept in. What if his parents found out? The first crack appeared during dinner one Tuesday. Harold, a retired cop with a mustache like steel wool, slammed his fork down. "Heard about that parade in the city. Disgusting. People like that should be ashamed." Brian's stomach twisted, but he kept his head down, poking at his mashed potatoes. Eleanor chimed in. "We raised you better than that, Brian. Family values matter." He nodded mutely, but inside, rage boiled. That night, he texted Jake, "Can't do this anymore. Too risky." Jake showed up at his window anyway, pebbles tapping against the glass like Morse code for desperation. "Brian, please," he pleaded as Brian let him in. They argued in hushed tones, Jake's eyes pleading. "Don't let them control you." But fear won out, and Brian pushed him away. "Go before they hear." Jake left, slamming the door softly, leaving Brian alone with his tears. Weeks blurred into a haze of regret. Brian threw himself into school, joining the debate club to distract from the ache in his chest. But fate intervened at a regional competition in Newark. There, he met Alex Rivera, a sharp-witted senior from a rival school, with olive skin, curly black hair, and a smile that could disarm anyone. Alex was openly gay, wearing a rainbow pin on his lapel like a badge of honor. "Impressive argument," Alex said after Brian's round, extending a hand. Their touch lingered, and Brian felt that familiar spark. They exchanged numbers, and soon texts turned into late-night calls. Alex lived in the city, his parents supportive immigrants from Puerto Rico who embraced his identity. "Come visit," Alex urged. Brian hesitated, but the pull was stronger than before. One weekend, he lied to his parents about a school trip and took the train to Manhattan. Alex met him at Penn Station, pulling him into a hug that felt like home. They wandered Central Park, hand in hand, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot. "This is what life could be," Alex said, kissing him under a canopy of gold. Brian opened up about his strict upbringing, the constant pressure. They adopted me after my real family died in a car crash when I was 5. I don't remember much, just fragments. Screams, sirens. Alex listened, his eyes soft with empathy. You're more than their rules, Brian. Back home, the guilt gnawed at him. Harold noticed his distraction. Something's off with you, boy. Spill it. Brian shrugged it off, but the tension built. One night, sneaking back in after seeing Alex, he found Eleanor waiting in the kitchen, arms crossed. Where were you? Her voice was ice. With friends, he lied. She didn't buy it but let it slide for now. As winter approached, Brian's double life intensified. Alex became his anchor, their love blooming in stolen moments. But whispers at school hinted Jake hadn't moved on, jealousy simmering. During a holiday party, Jake confronted him. So you're with that city kid now? After what we had? Brian's heart raced. Jake, please not here. But Jake's eyes flashed with hurt, foreshadowing trouble. The Whitaker home felt like a pressure cooker, ready to explode. Brian dreamed of escape, college applications to NYU, where he could be with Alex openly. But secrets have a way of unraveling, and Brian had no idea the biggest one lay buried in his past, waiting to upend everything. Christmas lights twinkled across Maplewood, but the Whitaker house remained dimly lit, as if joy was rationed like everything else. Brian sat at the dinner table, forcing a smile as Eleanor served ham and Harold droned about work ethic. His phone buzzed under the table. Alex? Miss you already. Can't wait for New Year's in the city. Brian's lips curved up involuntarily, but Harold's sharp eyes caught it. No phones at the table, son. Hand it over. Reluctantly, Brian complied, watching Harold pocket it. Later that night, as snow fell softly outside, he retrieved it from the kitchen drawer while his parents slept. But the damage was done. Harold had seen the messages. The next morning, confrontation erupted over breakfast. Who is this Alex? Harold thundered, slamming the phone down. Texts glowed accusingly. Love you, babe. Eleanor's face paled. Brian, tell me this isn't what it looks like. Tears welled in Brian's eyes. It is. I'm gay, Dad. Mom. I've been hiding it because I knew you'd react like this. Silence hung heavy. Then Harold exploded. Not in my house. We didn't raise you to be this. Eleanor wept quietly. We love you. But this is wrong. You need help. Brian fled to his room, barricading the door, sobs racking his body. He called Alex, voice breaking. They know. It's over. Alex arrived the next day, insisting on talking to them. Mr. and Mrs. Whitaker, Brian's a good person. His love doesn't change that. Harold's face reddened. Get out, or I'll call the cops. Alex left, but not before whispering to Brian. We'll figure this out. The house turned cold, punishments piling on. No car, no outings, mandatory church counseling. Pastor Reynolds preached about sinful temptations, his words like acid on Brian's soul. Amid the storm, Jake reappeared, texting apologies. Heard about the blow-up. I'm here if you need me. Brian, desperate for support, met him at the park. Why now? Brian asked, snowflakes melting on his lashes. Jake shrugged. I still care. Alex doesn't get you like I do. Their hug lingered too long, and guilt twisted in Brian's gut. But in his vulnerability, he confided in Jake about the family blowout, the adoption, the foggy memories of his birth parents' death. Jake listened, then dropped a bomb. My dad was on the force with your adoptive dad. He mentioned something once, about the crash not being an accident. Brian's blood ran cold. What do you mean? Jake hesitated. Rumors of foul play. Harold was involved somehow. Doubt-seated, Brian pushed it away. That's crazy. But the words haunted him. As weeks passed, Brian's relationship with Alex strained under the pressure. Secret meetings became arguments. You're pulling away, Alex accused during a clandestine call. Is there someone else? Brian denied it, but Jake's presence loomed. One night, driven by confusion, Brian kissed Jake in the abandoned lot. Felt wrong, a betrayal born of pain. This can't happen, Brian said, pulling back. Jake smirked. Too late. Guilt consumed him. He confessed to Alex over the phone, tears flowing. It was a mistake. Please forgive me. Alex's voice cracked. How could you? After everything. The line went dead, leaving Brian shattered. He confronted his parents that night. Why did you adopt me? What really happened to my family? Eleanor faltered. It was a tragedy, honey. A drunk driver. But her eyes darted to Harold, who grunted, Drop it. Driven by suspicion, Brian snuck into Harold's study, rifling through locked drawers. He found a faded newspaper clipping. Family of 3 killed in fiery crash. Local cop heroically saves child. The article praised Harold for pulling 5-year-old Brian from the wreckage. But a handwritten note scribbled in the margin. Had to cover it up. For her. Whose handwriting? Heart-pounding, Brian pocketed it. The next day at school, Jake cornered him. Told my dad you asked about the crash. He clammed up. Brian's mind raced. Was Harold hiding something? That evening, during a tense family dinner, Brian exploded. I found this. He slapped the clipping down. Harold's face drained of color. Where did you get that? Eleanor gasped. Harold. Tell him. Harold sighed. Defeated. Your birth parents. They weren't killed by a drunk. It was a hit and run. The driver was Eleanor's brother, your uncle. He was high, fleeing a robbery. I was the responding officer. To protect Eleanor from the scandal, I altered the report. Said it was an unknown driver. Brian reeled. You lied? For years. Eleanor sobbed. We loved you, Brian. Wanted to give you a better life. Betrayal burned hot. A better life? Under your rules. Hiding who I am. He stormed out into the snow, calling Alex. I need you. But Alex's voice was cold. After Jake? I can't. Alone, Brian wandered the streets, memories flooding back. Screams, fire, a man's voice yelling. Was it Harold's? Days blurred into isolation. Jake tried reaching out, but Brian ignored him, realizing Jake had manipulated his vulnerability for revenge. I told Alex about us, Jake admitted in a text. Payback. Fury ignited. Brian confronted Jake at school. You ruined everything. Fists flew, a brief scuffle ending with teachers pulling them apart. Suspended, Brian returned home to more lectures. But in the quiet, Eleanor approached. I'm sorry, Brian, for everything. Your uncle. He died in prison later. We thought hiding it would protect you. Her vulnerability cracked Brian's armor. And my being gay? She hesitated. I was wrong. Love is love. It was a start, but Harold remained stubborn. As spring thawed the snow, Brian focused on college apps, dreaming of escape. Alex texted sporadically, forgiveness tentative. Maybe we can try again, he said during a park meetup. Their kiss was hesitant, laced with hope, but the past shadows lingered, promising more revelations. Spring brought blooming cherry blossoms to Maplewood, but Brian's world felt like a storm cloud hovering. Accepted to NYU, he saw a light at the end of the tunnel, freedom in the city with Alex, if they could mend the fractures. But Jake's betrayal festered like an open wound. Why'd you do it? Brian demanded over the phone. Jake's laugh was bitter. You chose him over me. Had to even the score. Alex, upon learning the full story, softened. He played you. Us. They met in Central Park again, picnicking under the sun. Let's start fresh, Alex said, his hand on Brian's. Love reignited, passionate and deep, their bodies entwining in Alex's apartment that night. You're mine, Alex whispered, tracing Brian's scars, emotional and literal from the crash. Back home, tensions with Harold escalated. College in the city? Over my dead body, he growled. Too many temptations. Brian stood firm. I'm going, Dad, and I'm gay. Deal with it. Eleanor mediated, her own guilt pushing her toward acceptance. Let him go, Harold. We've controlled enough. Digging deeper into the past, Brian visited the local library, scanning old microfiche. He found more articles, cop's brother-in-law suspected in fatal hit and run. Eleanor's brother, Mark, had a rap sheet drugs, theft. The crash report listed unknown vehicle, but witnesses mentioned a blue sedan matching Mark's. Harold had buried evidence. Confronting Eleanor alone, Brian demanded truth. Did Harold know Mark was driving? She nodded, tears streaming. Yes, Mark called us panicking. Harold arrived first, saw you trapped. He saved you, but let Mark flee to protect me. Mark was my only family left after our parents died. Brian's mind spun. So my parents' death was covered up for your sake? Eleanor clutched his hand. We adopted you to atone. Raised you strict to keep you safe from that world. The revelation shattered Brian. His birth parents, loving from what fragments he recalled, died because of family ties tangled in lies. Anger surged toward Harold. That night, argument exploded. You let a killer walk free, Brian yelled. Harold defended. It was an accident. Mark didn't mean to, but Brian saw red. You chose her family over justice. In the chaos, Brian packed a bag and fled to Alex's. Stay with me? Alex urged. Holding him as sobs racked his body. Their love deepened, nights filled with tender touches and shared dreams. But guilt nagged, leaving Eleanor behind. She called daily, pleading reconciliation. Your dad regrets it. Come home. Meanwhile, Jake escalated his vendetta, spreading rumors at school. Brian's family's crooked. Whispers followed Brian in halls, isolation growing. One day, Jake cornered him in the parking lot. Know what else? My dad said Harold took bribes back then. Lies or truth? Brian shoved him. Stay away. The climax hit during graduation. As Brian walked the stage, proud yet hollow, a commotion erupted. Jake, drunk, shouted from the crowd. Ask about the bribe, Whitaker. Your dad's dirty. Security dragged him away, but damage was done. Harold's face ashen, he confessed later at home. Mark paid me to look the other way. Small amount, but enough to haunt me. Eleanor's gasp echoed Brian's shock. You never told me? Betrayal layered upon betrayal. Brian felt unmoored, questioning everything. Was adopting me just guilt money? Harold broke down, rare tears falling. No, we loved you from the start. But yes, the money helped us start over. Eleanor slapped him, storming out. The family fractured. Brian turned to Alex for solace, their relationship a beacon. We'll build our own family, Alex said, proposing a future together. But the past pulled Brian back. Investigating further, he contacted the old case detective, Jake's dad. Ironically, Harold did wrong, but he saved you. Mark died years ago, overdose. Case closed. Torn, Brian faced a choice. Expose Harold, ruining them, or forgive for humanity's sake. Nights with Alex brought clarity. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, Alex advised, his embrace warm. Their love, resilient through storms, showed Brian redemption's path. As summer dawned, Brian returned home for a final talk. I forgive you, he told them, but I need space. Eleanor hugged him tightly. Harold nodded gruffly. Proud of you, son. It wasn't perfect, but it was human. NYU's campus buzzed with fresh energy as Brian unpacked in his dorm, Alex helping carry boxes. This is our new beginning, Alex said, stealing a kiss amid the chaos. Maplewood felt worlds away, but the scars remained. Emotional tattoos of betrayal and loss. Brian's therapy sessions, started over summer, unpacked the layers. Grief for his birth parents, anger at Harold's corruption, pity for Eleanor's entrapment. Their relationship flourished in the city's embrace. Walks through Greenwich Village, hand in hand, attending pride events where rainbows waved freely. I never thought I'd have this, Brian confessed one night in Alex's arms, the skyline glittering outside. Alex's love was a balm, passionate and steady, their bodies sinking in rhythms of trust rebuilt. But echoes of the past intruded. Jake, expelled for his outburst, messaged apologies. I was hurt. Forgive me? Brian blocked him, choosing peace. Eleanor visited monthly, bonding over coffee. Your dad's changing, therapy too. Harold sent awkward texts. Miss you. Small steps toward healing. One autumn day, Brian received a package. Old photos from his birth family. Eleanor explained. Found them in storage. Thought you should have them. Images of a happy toddler with parents. Smiling, alive, brought tears. They'd be proud, Alex said, holding him. The true high point came during Thanksgiving. Brian invited his adoptive parents to the city. Tension simmered at first, but over turkey, stories flowed. Harold admitted fully, I was wrong about the cover-up about you. Love who you love. Eleanor beamed. Brian introduced Alex properly. He's my boyfriend. Acceptance, hard-won, warmed the room. As years passed, graduation, jobs in the city, Brian and Alex built a life. They married in a small ceremony in Central Park, Eleanor walking Brian down the aisle, Harold clapping proudly. To new families, Harold toasted, eyes misty. But the story's heart lay in humanity's shades. Brian volunteered at LGBTQ youth centers, sharing his journey. Secrets destroy, but truth heals, he'd say. Reflecting on his birth family's death, he found peace. Not vengeance, but understanding frailty. In quiet moments, Brian pondered the secret he'd never known. The web of lies spun from love and fear. It shaped him but didn't define him. With Alex by his side, their love a testament to resilience, Brian embraced his truth. The strictest parents alive had taught him discipline, but love taught him freedom. The end wasn't fairy tale perfect. Scars lingered, relationships mended imperfectly. But in America's melting pot, where identities clash and converge, Brian found his place. A gay man, adopted son, survivor, human above all.